लाय कवये शास्त्र योनये प्रवृत्ताय निवृत्ताय निगमाय नमो नमः. Honorable Chairperson, Sir Professor Mark Daiskowski, who is going to join us, and speaker of today's lecture, Ms. Melissa Townsend, Head of the Department, Sir Professor Anand Mishra, all the respected professors, colleagues, and distinguished scholars present in the hall as well as online. I Neeta Singh, Assistant Professor in the Department of Philosophy and Religion, BHU. I'm welcoming you in this ICPR Study Circle lecture on the topic, the Yoga Sūtras of Patanjali, a visual meditation. I'm delighted to have you all in this lecture series. And for an auspicious commencement of the program, it's our tradition to recall the founder of this university, Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji. So I request to the respected speaker of today's lecture and our head of the department, Sir Professor Anand Mishra, to kindly light the lamp and garlanding the bust of Mahamana Malviya ji. Akanksha and Raja Lakshmi, please help. Meanwhile, for Mangalacharan, I request Vikas Pandey to recite the Mangalacharan.
हरि ओम न कर्मणा प्रजया धनेन त्यागेनैके अमृतत्वमानशुः परेण नाकं निहितं गुहायां विभ्राजते तद्यतयो विशन्ति वेदान्त विज्ञान सुनिश्चितार्थाः संन्यासयोगाद्यतयः शुद्धसत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोके तु परान्तकाले परामृताः परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे यो वेदादौ स्वरः प्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः ओम तः प्रज्ञन्न बहिष प्रज्ञन्नो भयतः प्रज्ञन्न प्रज्ञानघनन्न प्रज्ञन्ना प्रज्ञम् अदृष्टमव्यवहार्यमग्राह्यम् अलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदिश्यमेकात्मप्रत्ययसारं प्रपञ्चोपशमम् शान्तं शिवमद्वैतं चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स यात्मा स विज्ञेयः हरिः ओम्.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Sneha and Kajol for the rendition of Kulgeet.
मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी ये तीनों लोकों से न्यारी काशी सुज्ञान धर्म और सत्य राशि बसी है गंगा के रम्य तट पर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी नहीं नहीं है ये ईंट पत्थर है विश्वकर्मा का कार्य सुंदर रचे है वेदा के भव्य मंदिर ये सर्व सृष्टि की राजधानी राजधानी यहाँ की है पवित्र शिक्षा की सत्य पहरे रक्षा बीते हरिश्चंद्र थे यहीं पर, ये सत्य शिक्षा की राजधानी, राजधानी। वेदेश्वर की सत्यवाणी बने जिन्हें पढ़ के ब्रह्म ज्ञानी, थे व्यास जी ने रचे यहीं पर, ये ब्रह्म विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। वो मुक्ति पद को दिलाने वाले, सुधर्म पथ पर चलाने वाले, यही फले पूरे बुद्ध शंकर, ये राज ऋषियों की राजधानी, राजधानी। सुरम्य धाराएं वरुणासी, नहाए जिनमें कबीर तुलसी, भला हो कविता का क्यों न आकर, ये वाग विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। विविध कला अर्थ शास्त्र गायन, गणित खनिज औषधि रसायन, प्रतीचि प्राची का मेल सुंदर, ये विश्वविद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। ये मालवीय जी की देशभक्ति, ये उनका साहस, ये उनकी शक्ति, ये मालवीय जी की देशभक्ति, ये उनका साहस, ये उनकी शक्ति, प्रकट हुए हैं नवीन होकर, ये कर्म वीरों की राजधानी, राजधानी। मधुर मनोहर अतीब सुंदर, ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। मधुर मनोहर अतीब सुंदर, ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी।
Thank you so much, Miss Neha and Kajol. And after this beautiful rendition of our Kulgeet, now I request our head sir to kindly felicitate our respected chair and speaker. So, Akanksha, sir, kindly welcome our chairperson with a garland and shawl. You are welcome here, sir. Now, I request you, sir, to kindly felicitate our respected speaker of today's session, Miss Melissa Townsend, ma'am, with garland and shawl. And Dr. Kalpana Yadav, madam, garlanding our honorable speaker. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would request head sir to welcome all the distinguished guests and participants. Please, sir.
Hari Om. Honorable Chairperson Mark HC. Speaker Melissa Townsend. Convener of the program, Dr. Neeti Singh ji. Our colleagues, students, and scholars present offline and online. I, on behalf of the Department of Philosophy and Religion, Banaras Hindu University, welcome you all in this ICPR study circle program. Friends, this would be really a new type of program in philosophy. Melissa is going to present her 11-year engagement with Yoga Sutras. She is an artist. She has presented her reading of Yoga Sutras through paintings. She repeatedly reminds us that her work should not be understood as illustration of Yoga Sutras. She has already published two books of Yoga Sutras with translation, her own commentary, and a painting for each aphorism. As we know that the whole text of a Yoga Sutra is divided in 4 sections, and there are 195 sutras or aphorism in Yoga Sutras. In first section there are 51 sutras. In second section there are 55 sutras. She has already done work on these two, Samadhi Pad and Sadhan Pad. In fact, she has painted all the aphorism of remaining books, that is Vibhuti Pad and Kaivalya Pad also. Now she has just to translate the text and write her own commentary. So you can imagine how significant is the work which she has done. She would speak on. That's why we selected the topic of the lecture, just the title of her work, which is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, a visual meditation. I, on behalf of the Department of Philosophy and Religion and all our colleagues, welcome Melissa. The whole lecture was actually organized in haste, so there are some problems. I am really sorry for that. But since she has to leave tomorrow and she could come again only after 1 year, so we thought that the lecture should be and must be organized. That's why we are organizing the lecture. I also welcome Mark, who has accepted our invitation to preside over the lecture. I am really thankful to Mark you. There are a number of scholars connected to the program. Professor Rakesh Chandra, Ganesh Prasad Das ji, Asa Mudgul ji, Pratibha Graman from US, A number of scholars have been connected from abroad. I welcome them all in this ICPR study circuit program. There are a number of scholars here present in seminar hall also, like Mr. Yan, K.K. Misra ji, our colleagues, students, and some other scholars whom I am unable to recognize. I welcome all these scholars. I welcome students, our teachers, and all those connected either offline or online. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, this is the time for the lecture. And our speaker, Melissa Townsend, is an independent scholar, artist, writer, and teacher based in San Francisco, USA. She is a student of Sanskrit and long-time yoga practitioner. And she has painted and authored the Yoga Sūtras of Patañjali, a visual meditation, book 1, Samadhi Pada, and book 2, Sadhana Pada. She is now working on the book 3 and 4, Vibhuti Pada and Kavalya Pada, respectively. And we are all so eager to listen to her, as this lecture is going to be very different. For this is a totally new way to see Patanjali's Yoga Sutras through. So, madam, we are glad to have you among us today. And now I invite you for your talk on the topic, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, a visual meditation. Just 1 minute. Is this slide visible to all our online participants? Please let us know.
You will have to share screen.
The camera is not on the screen.
Just a minute, sir. Is it now? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Please go on now.
Hello. Thank you all so much. It is a great honor and pleasure to be here to share my work of the last 11 years with you. Thank you, Dr. Mishra, Dr. Tukowski, and Dr. Singh. Thank you so much. And for making this happen so suddenly, so quickly. I'll apologize in advance for any as an independent scholar, there's all the benefits and all of the, all the negative aspects of pursuing something independently. And I'll apologize in advance for any missteps or mistakes. There's two things in particular that I will be doing in this talk. I'll show my work of the last 11 years of the paintings of the Yoga Sutras and talk about why this works as a, how it fits into the tradition of commentary in a viable way on the Yoga Sutras. And also, I want to talk about the encouragement of the importance of finding a way to personally engage with the text and how art, and not so much art and spirituality, go ahead. Art and spirituality, there's so many, we know about the connection between art and spirituality. There's not a church or a mosque or a temple that doesn't have some sort of art in it if the temple or mosque or church itself isn't even art. But as a means of practice, that engagement with the text in a creative way, whether by visual art, by any sort of but in some way that has a personal resonance, is an extremely important way to engage with any philosophical text, that it can anchor you in the practice of studying it intellectually. It can help you develop, it gives you your own personal dialogue with the text and your own vocabulary for understanding not just what it's saying and not just the history of what has been said, but what it wants you to experience. Because that's really what we're all looking for here. That's why do we engage in spiritual practice or in the study of philosophy or in art? Because we're looking for something, because we are looking for an experience. And most often that experience has to do with something that alleviates pain, which of course gets us to the first sutra in the Sankhya Karika, where it promises that it will alleviate pain. It will show you how to remove pain. And as we know, the Yoga Sutras are the sister darshana of the Sankhya Karika. The Sankhya Karika presents the philosophy, and the Yoga Sutra is supposedly a practice manual. And practice is important because philosophy or spirituality, these are interesting, but without practice, the fruit of what is being taught, it's not available. So that's why the Yoga Sutra is important, and that's why finding some sort of personal engagement yourself that grounds your practice in something meaningful to you is deeply important. I decided to work with the Yoga Sutras, not because, in this way, not because I wanted to create a body of work. I had a moment of revelation in which, after 30 some years of practice, I realized that my mind actually never stopped talking to me. This is, of course, a little bit of a, basic understanding. But I had that experience where I thought, wow, right now, every single moment, I am being bossed around by my thoughts. And I remembered the first Yoga Sutra. I'm having a hard time with the, I'm not able to make this. The very first Yoga Sutra, Yogaschita Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the control or the, I'm having trouble with the mouse. The mouse is not working. I'm not able to move the image. What? Ah, okay, great. Okay, thank you. There we go. There we go. Yoga is the control of the activity of thinking or of all that stuff that's going on inside. And I thought, I have to work with the Yoga Sutras. But how was I going to make sure I stuck to it? And deciding to paint the Yoga Sutras was my way of, thank you, of making myself stick to the project. These slides that I'm sort of zipping through have more to do with why I started incorporating Sanskrit into paintings, which I had done before. This is the first group. It's the Shiva Mahimna Stotram, and the lineage of Sanskrit that I learned is Sri Brahmananda Saraswati, and they really emphasizes the vibrational aspect of Sanskrit as a tool that in and of itself moves you towards enlightenment just by being around it. So I had started incorporating Sanskrit into paintings, thinking that this was how I was going to get that vibrational energy out into the world. And this is the first group of paintings that I had done. I had actually just finished this group of paintings when I had that moment at my desk where I realized that I had to work with the Yoga Sutras. This group of paintings was actually very difficult for me to do. I was a beginning Sanskrit student when I started painting them, and just writing the Devanagari was excruciating, I would say. But I had just finished that, and I had the idea that I had to work with the Yoga Sutras. And I knew it would not necessarily be easy. I didn't know that it would be 11 years, but the desire to actually, I was motivated. I had to find a way to make sure that I actually did it, that I didn't start it and stop it. And because I wanted the experience that the Yoga Sutras say they will move you towards, that experience of knowing that I'm not just that voice that's always telling me what to do. I'm not just this body. I'm not just all of the ideas, all of the plans, all of the things that I do and don't do, that is not necessarily me, that isn't me. That's all prakriti. That's all, the stuff that's happening all around, and that I am the observer, the seer. So I will first show you, I just recently finished all of the paintings for book 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll first show you the, I'll go through them quickly and then I'll go through them more slowly. Let's see, I'm trying to make it smaller. So this is book 1. I guess I can go like this. So, and I have them in smaller. So book 1 from the yoga is the Yogaśchita Vritti is the black one. And then I'll just show the overview and then go into it more. There's Samadhipada. And here's sadhana. So each of the working on the sutras was a process of letting go, especially with book 1. I had initially thought it was my idea, but very early on it became clear that I wasn't the one in charge, that something else was telling me what to do, and that I could try to not do that, but it wouldn't work. So the process is a process of paying attention, which is the same process of meditation, because what you control when you meditate is not your thoughts. You're going to continue to think, but you control what you pay attention to. And the process of making art is also paying attention. It is impossible to pay attention to anything without seeing the beauty in it. And that's in the Kaivalya Pada. There's the 2 books that I've done so far, and a meditation deck. And now we'll start with each one separately. Okay, here are the first ones of book 1. Atta Yoga Nushasanam, shows a glass of spilt milk, which is a somewhat unconventional demonstration, but the idea basically being now that the milk is spilled, now that the mess is made, now we begin the practice of yoga. The next painting, Yogaśchita Vritti Nirodha, I had big plans for that painting. I was going to sand it down and I was going to make it really rich and vibrant and show what a good painter I was. But I had just sanded it down and the image came up that all it needed was that single point. That with that moment, that was when I realized that I wasn't really in charge and that something else was going to be telling me what to do, which was initially not at all a pleasant feeling. The 5 types of movements of the mind are shown by that they can be painful on the one hand and not painful on the other, are the 2 hands. And then those 5 types are shown by a birthday cake, because at the age of 5, that's many mental faculties are developed actually, and are the way that we're going to need to think for the rest of our life, the way that we're going to need to develop our thinking capacity, in many ways kind of comes together at the age of 5. You start to recognize time. That's when the ability to count or to know the vocabulary or language gets most strong then. And to some extent, too, it is a gift. Our mind is a gift. The ability to use our mind is like the gift that we're given upon being born. Then the next 5 paintings show the 5 types of movements of the mind. And then we get into abhyasa and vairagya. And those are the paintings for those. And let's see, I'll move a little bit more so that we get through all of them. You can see that there's a combination, that it goes back. One of the meaningful things about working in this way is that you can move back and forth between the abstract and the figurative. A lot of times people respond to the paintings of the hot sauce, which is the ones that lead up to it tell you that, you know, how you practice. If you, given the liabilities that you come into with your lifetime, what is required, and that the target is, you know, for those who are intent, the goal is near. And then the hot sauce, even for those who are intent, there are different levels of intensity, the mild, medium, and hot. So, and then these are the ones about Ishvara. This particular one with all the little arrows is taken from an image of quantum movement. And that particular sutra is about the fact that Ishvara is beyond time. Three more of them. All right, whoops. Okay. By the end of, I had started working with the Yoga Sutras, believing that I really, it felt very important to work with the Yoga Sutras, but I had never really liked the Yoga Sutras for various reasons that are cultural primarily, and you know, have to do with a mistaken understanding of, I mean, I just had never really liked them. And I wasn't sure that I liked Sankhya either, this very dualistic philosophy where there's, you know, all of material reality and then the self. I didn't, you know, that didn't really resonate with me. It seemed to me that it should all be one. But by the time I was done working with book 1, I was in love with the Yoga Sutras. I had been led through the experience, that like a taste of the experience. It's because working with a text like this, it sort of takes you in as deeply as you can and then kind of pulls you back out before you get lost. So the process of working with each sutra was a process of being taken into a sense of the meaning of the sutra, paying attention to what I was being shown, what I was being made to feel, with what images would come up, with what sort of directions I was getting, that in terms of what to paint and how to paint it. So that sounds really great. I would have to say that most of the time the experience was of anxiety and fear, but also this is you feel the feeling of anxiety. I'm not going to get it. I don't understand it. I mean, is this right? This doesn't seem right. But it's an anxiety that then also opens up into this experience of something bigger, that you are not, and you're not just connecting to something bigger, that you are that something bigger, like playing in life, and that life is playing through you. Like that is the experience that is possible to have by creatively and personally engaging with any text that you decide to. And it only takes showing up. A friend of mine said at one point, when I said I was working with the Yoga Sutras, he said, "Oh, you don't work with the Yoga Sutras, they work on you." And I would say that is exactly what I discovered. So when I started with book 2, I was really eager to get into book 2. And it was a very different experience. This is the first one, is giving the Kriya Yoga, which I understand is the yoga for the active person, being tapas, svadhyaya, and ishvara pranidhana. I would say that one could argue that the way of working with the Yoga Sutras is a form of Kriya Yoga, that the tapas is the discipline, the engagement with the text, the svadhyaya is the study and doing the work on your own, and the Ishvara Pranidhana is the, something else is in charge. I am not the one. I do not, I'm the one doing the work, but I'm not the one in charge. So the matches represent the tapas, the candle holder is the svadhyaya, and the candle itself is the Ishvara Pranidhana. Then the light itself is only possible with all three. And then the next one is what happens with the use of them, which is that it lessens the kleshas and it makes it possible to experience samadhi. So that is really the light itself exploding. Then what are the kleshas? The kleshas are a nesting box. They all nest within each other. And avidya is the main klesha. A nesting box is, again, this is something that children play with. If any of you have children in your life, especially young ones, they love this kind of thing. They will take the boxes out endlessly and put them back in. And in the same way, the kleshas are similarly a gift that we have as human beings in this life. We play with them a lot until we realize that they're ultimately empty. And like we kind of want to stop playing with the nesting box. Then avidya is the field from which all the others spring. And avidya is the mistaking, the pure, the next one with the red and gold, mistaking, the pure for the impure, the non-eternal for the eternal. And the idea is that the pale representation is what we mistake for the gold. Then asmita, that's the paper doll of a man that would fit over a doll being a skeleton. And raga and dvesha are the front, and the desire and aversion are the front and the back of the heart. And then abhinavesha is represented by the skeleton, or the fear of death, their desire to live. So the next group of sutras talk about the kleshas are the some people think the kleshas are the whole key of the Yoga Sutras, that ridding yourself of those that's the whole point. So the next few sutras lay the foundation for what the kleshas are and how they create karma. And those sutras, the paintings there all relate to how you create a pentagram, which is a five-sided image. Mathematically, geometrically, they all use like the same. You have to create, in order to do it, you have to create a root, and then a root circle, and that root circle determines like the size of the other of each of the sides of the pentagram. So each of these paintings about the kleshas has that pentagram inscribed within a circle, and and has some particular play on it, whether it's showing them being taken back to their source in the first one, and then for the second one, the way that you get rid of the kleshas when they're active. The general idea is you want to take them back to their source. You want to move back beyond the point that where Samkhya has the whole genesis of Prakriti into the world, and you want to move back beyond the point where the kleshas are activated. But when they're activated, you can't do that, and that's when meditation comes into play. That's the second one there. Then the third one talks about how the kleshas, the root, how they create karma that exists, that continues to exist, and that as long as the next one, as long as actions are rooted in the kleshas, you'll continue to create karma, which can be good or bad. And then that for the one who understands, everything is bad, but you can end suffering. So then it talks about the nature of Prakriti, the nature of Purusha, and the fact that the big whole problem here is that we get them confused. We see them as one thing. So this image right there that looks like a solar eclipse, I actually did paint after the solar eclipse in, I think it was maybe 2016 or something, which I saw. And I think it's very interesting. The solar eclipse blocks the sun, but it also makes it possible to study certain things about the sun. And I think that's an interesting metaphor for the ignorance that blocks us from understanding that we are the self. That for me personally, I feel that in our life, the way I would differ from what my understanding of the Yoga Sutras was before is that it's not that I, in studying it, wanted to be a monk and to rid myself of all connection to Prakriti, which is, of course, what the Yoga Sutras say they want you to do. But you could argue that it's not ridding all connection, but it's of making Prakriti no longer meaningful in the same way, changing your relationship to it. But the Prakriti exists for two purposes. That's this central one with the red, white, and black that represents the three gunas, and the gold in the center. That Prakriti exists for for experience first and liberation. And, the experience is also a beautiful thing that then leads us towards understanding the importance of liberation. And then we get into the yamas and the 8 limbs. So the 8 limbs are represented by the octagon, within which are the cleaning supplies, because the 8 limbs provide the cleaning supplies that help us clear away what prevents us from seeing our true nature. The yamas are, and I won't go through all of the sutras this way, obviously, but this is to give you some idea of the process of. It's not like every single painting had like a really very, very clear theoretical. Some of them have clear theoretical understanding behind it. Some of them actually sort of taught me as I was doing it. For example, the red one there, which is about the Mahavrata, the great vow. So actually for me, the great vow represented everything I didn't like about the Yoga Sutras. Like the great vow says that if you agree to observe all of the yamas without regard for like birth or place or like all your life, all the time, you're not going to lie, you're not going to steal, you're not going to like any of this stuff. And like most of my stories about working on this project, I mean, I don't necessarily show up in the best light in most of them, because like I would think about this as like I'm going to promise to never ever lie ever, or to never I'm not going to take like the New York Times crossword puzzle from my mom. I mean, I might do that, and I hadn't liked the Yoga Sutras because I was raised Catholic, and like that whole notion of like, you can't do this and you don't do this. Like, I didn't like that. It made me feel bad. And I thought, like, I am a good person. I try not to do bad things, just like most of us. But like the idea that I was going to handcuff myself to the notion of not doing anything bad ever. Like, I didn't want to do that. That didn't seem like it would help. So I wanted to get done with this painting really quickly. And I knew what I was going to do because again, we're talking about the yamas, it's another 5 thing, and you're going to observe it over all time and space. I did a Fibonacci spiral, which is based on the number of 5 and can continue indefinitely, forever. As I was working on this painting, the beauty of it, like the beauty of that spiral that can keep going forever, was like a revelation to me. I was like, oh, wait, I've had the wrong idea. I thought of this as some sort of thing you have to do. But you don't have to do it. Patanjali never says you have to do this. But if you're in the place where you decide to make the great vow, it is not an ugly, it is a beautiful thing. It is a thing of tremendous beauty and grace and wonder. It was like, oh, right, I had it wrong. I had it wrong. That, again, is the process of engaging in this way with the text. You allow it to enter you and to show you that often you have it wrong. Like whatever you think, like that's not it. It's not that. It's not about what you think. It's about an experience beyond all that. So again and again throughout the process of working with the Yoga Sutras in this way, I was led by the nose most of the time to understand that I had it wrong and that all of it was much more beautiful and much more interesting and much more wonderful than anything I could imagine. And so when I talk about these paintings and this work, I'm eager to share the work with you. It's wonderful to share the work with others. But what I most want people to come away from any time of seeing this is that you can do this too. That you can find your own way to develop a relationship with the text where it will turn you around and freak you out and make you feel, and then will show you that you are so much more than any of it, which is what we want, which is what all of us want. So I don't know how we're doing for time. We have more time because I also definitely want to, okay. I want to be sure to have time for any questions or thoughts. Yes. What? Oh,
Ma'am, nowadays, problem of anxiety is going on.
mm-hmm.
So how can visual meditation can help us out from that? And ma'am, my second question is, according to your presentation, if a person is not able to connect with the manifestation which is being manifested in the figures and the paintings, so he certainly he will not be able to get through that experiences.
So,
And this is common problem in visual meditation.
so is your question like if you can't connect to the things that I've done, or if nothing comes up for you, if you're trying to visually meditate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so sometimes I also teach workshops where I have people doing this as well. And I think the most important thing is to pay attention. People get too anxious about thinking that they should be doing something. The most important, if nothing comes up, that's also interesting. Like sometimes I'll tell people just start writing, like I can't think of anything, this is really stupid. Like if you just start doing whatever comes up without trying to judge it, most of the time you'll be surprised that something comes up. Like nothing coming up can be a blank page, and then you just leave it like that, and then you start scribbling on it. Like it's you would be surprised that the most important thing is to allow yourself to pay attention. And for each of us, there is some voice within that wants you to pay attention to it. It's sometimes it won't necessarily say the same thing to you that it says to me. And the most important thing is to pay attention to it. So the work that I do as much money as one always makes as an artist and studying Sanskrit and all that. The thing that I do, that I also work as a psychic. I have clients all around the world. So with that, again, too, when you sit down to next to someone, the thing that you have to do is pay attention to what comes up. Many times something will come up that you don't really want to say, that you feel a little embarrassed about, or that you think can't possibly be right, especially if it's somebody that you know a little bit. But the task always, and this is the task of art or creativity or spirituality, is always to pay attention. And you have to understand that for each of us, we're always a beginner. None of us, you always are like just learning how to pay attention. And that voice is always going to push you a little bit farther. Okay, now pay attention to this. No, 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 I don't want to. No, no, that can't be right. No, 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 pay attention to this. Watch this. Like that's, so that's, you're developing a relationship to something within yourself, not something outside yourself.
Hi, Melissa. I'm Herbie here.
Hello?
Yeah. Hi, Melissa. I'm Herbie here. So it was an interesting presentation which you gave in terms of your paintings and whatever happened internally by virtue of igniting the mind which is inside any living creature. Two things in the spirit of knowledge in order to grow together for all of us. That's going to be latter part, the subsequent part. The first part is I wanted to ask you what is the source of, what are the source of yoga Patanjali Sūtras which you referred to initially, or which you've been referring to?
So it's a little, can you, I didn't hear his question.
The first part is what are the source of yoga Patanjali Sūtras which you've referred to? The source in the sense that the transliterations and the writings or the compilations by others. That's
which ones did I look at? Which translations?
There are only 196 aphorisms, if I'm not wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
The source which you referred to, the transliterations of Patanjali Yoga Sutras.
Does he want to know the source text?
Yeah, the text, just the main ones which you generally refer to.
So I looked at many texts in the course of working on this. I must have 100 translations.
Right.
The very first text that I worked with is a compilation of 12 translations by, I can't remember his name, an Italian man, but it has, I also have Swami Satchidananda's was an early text I have. I like Chris Chappell's translation, as Dr. Christopher Chappell's translation very much. Right. Which other ones? In my studio, I have those two, and I have a text that was translated by, I have two texts translated by friends of mine also as well that I look at.
Right. So the second part is like one of the students asked a question and all that. So just to add up to you, I'm because you've been into this in thick and thin, so you're much way above. So I just wanted to add on to what has been the talks are going on. Actually, the earlier student who asked, actually we are not physical bodies, you see, because the reason is we don't grow out of the bodies, and that's where the desires remain because of a past cause and effect, which is known as the karmas. We are actually electromagnetic waves. If you say so, we are atomic bodies, because the reason is the way we think is the way we attract, and every creature, and so-called the human rupa has an electromagnetic radiation around it, and it's the way we move, and what happens is we have desires and we got clinged on to the earth, but we ain't that, and that is why we crossed the evolutionary processes which are there for billions of years. And that is the reason the sutras, they just align us, because we are only thinking about our bodies and desires, nothing else. And energy is something which cannot be created, it can only be transformed. Because the reason is the art of learning is its vibration, sensation, and reaction. And that's how it happens. And that is why we are supposed to be beyond animals, because the reason is whatever happens in the human consciousness is directly proportional to the universal
Sorry,
consciousness.
sorry to interrupt you, sir. She hasn't yet
All right, not an issue.
finished her lecture.
Not an issue. I'm so sorry. All right, all right.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'll tell you, Melissa, not an issue. I'm so sorry. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to add on to what you had already said, and no issues.
Okay, sir. After the completion of the lecture, you may ask your questions. Thank
No,
you.
not an issue. All right, all right, all right.
So can I get this, there we go. So can you get it back to the main, to the images? Get me back to the images, thank you. Okay, so I'll make sure that we get to all of, so that you see all of the paintings. And then, so we'll have time. Pratipaksha Bhavana is the light there, the recognition of the opposite. What's on the other hand is, you know, the light in that brings light into the darkness. All of the yamas are hands. They you can see the first one that introduces the yama is a hand in a, because the yamas are the restrictions, the things you don't do. So the hand is saying stop, but it's gently saying stop, because if it's not gentle, then it's against the very first one, which is ahimsa. And then all of the yamas have hands, except for the last one, a parigraha, which comes from to grasp. So the idea is that you have the hand that wants to grasp that apple so badly. The niyamas are a reference to Joseph Albers, actually. And he is an American abstract artist who did a lot of work with color theory. My initial idea about the yamas was that the niyamas was that they would each painting would be just one color, but that didn't really look right. So I ended up putting like some of each color, like the red that here, this is the same gold as that, and this. You can see that the colors look, this is a very Joseph Albers sort of thing, where colors look different depending upon what they're next to. So even though like this is the same as this color, it looks different. This is the same as this color, it looks different there. But what I really learned working on the yamas in this way, the niyamas, excuse me, in this way, was that they do rely on each other. That if you can't have tapas without also you can't have discipline or without also having santosha, without also having like that sense of contentment or happiness. And likewise, svadhyaya they all require each other. So a friend of mine who's a philosopher in Western philosophy said that this is actually the same as the teaching about the major virtues, like fortitude or justice, that none of these work without all of them together. And this is again an instance of not something that I came to painting them, learned through the process of painting them. Okay, then these are the paintings about asana, and then pranayama, and pratyahara, and then the last one. So now we'll get into the paintings for Vibhutipada. The first three, dharana is the dot, dhyana is the line of attention that goes to that dot, and the dot is gold. You can't really see it, it's gold there. And then in dhyana, it radiates out from that point. So dharana is choosing the point. Dhyana is what happens when you keep your attention on the point. And then samadhi is the state that then happens above and beyond that. After you've kept your attention on that point for a while, it all disappears. Then sanyama is the application of all three, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, as one. And that's really the core of book 3. Book 3 is leading you to the internal practice, what happens when you apply those three together as the internal practice. And everything happens. This is when you have the real possibility of transformation. So this triangle motif shows up frequently in the paintings for book 3. The paintings about the parinamas, the way that the mind particularly changes as it engages in meditation, are all the triangles right there. And then the discussion of how that leads to the siddhis. Because when your mind has been transformed in this way, it is possible to perceive reality differently. You do perceive reality differently. And that's where this Magritte-like painting, where the canvas opens up to reveal the sky beyond, is there's something else is shown to be behind it all. So then what I did with the next 32 paintings, which are all the siddhis, is different. The 32 paintings that create one large painting. In that behind that painting, there's a painting of a sky, a blue sky. And then above it, there's this overlay of, this kind of vaguely Caucasian skin color with the 3 different colors of lines. The white lines, which represent sattva, and which create the triangles. And in each of the triangles represents a particular type of meditation or siddhi or focus, the focus of sanyama, that then opens up to an experience of that sky beyond. So there's the white lines, the red lines for rajas, and the black lines, which are actually based on brain cells, for tamas. And then each of the siddhis represents a focus of sanyama that opens you up to an experience of reality being more than you think it is. Except for, of course, the one that has the double triangle in the center, that is about the understanding the difference between Purusha and Prakriti. But as we get towards the end of these siddhis, we get to, I'll walk up. This one is Bhuta Jaya, what? Oh, I can't, wow. Okay, we start to get some more color coming in here with mastery of the elements, because in that earlier sutra that first showed this one, they mention how, particularly the bhutas and the indriyas, how it gives you, those are the basic building blocks of our experience. The bhutas, the elements, gives us the canvas, gives us something to work on. And the indriyas, the organs of sense perception, that is what allows us to navigate the world, to experience the world. We were talking the other day, like, if you believe that there is a self that exists beyond this life, that self will also perceive, but it won't perceive the way we perceive. Like, we perceive through sight, through hearing, through touch. Those are particulars to being a human being. Those are the indriyas. But once you begin to have mastery of the elements, but then really, truly, it changes with mastery of the senses. Because once you change your relationship to the organs of sense perception, you change your relationship to all of it. If you are no longer reliant on your eyes to see or your ears to hear, you are beginning to touch what it means to no longer just be this. And so that's why the closing sutras of book 3, from the point where we talk about Indriya Jaya, are become very different. This is a different experience now. And I don't think I can completely explain what each of these mean, because I have to say, I look at them and I feel like they are still teaching me, that I still, like, something, again, this is where something else, like the fact of thinking to make this like the chromatic scale there, I didn't think that. That's just, it was a response. And I love that. I love that about art, about music, about any creative endeavor, that it has the possibility to surprise you and to show you things that keep teaching you. All right, so now I'll show you the paintings for book 4, and then we can go to questions. I just finished the paintings for book 4, so being able to talk about them is, I don't know how much I can say for sure. So there's this group right here. We start to talk about the nature of reality, and that past, present, and future all exist together. I like kind of like these that we the question too of like, does reality exist, and that there is a particular combination of the gunas that is an apple. There is an apple, but even though we all see that apple differently, that it still is an apple. And then answering the question of like, if you're not looking at the apple, does it still exist? And yes, the apple still exists, according to the Yoga Sutras, at least, if you're not looking at it. The nature of the mind is, and to some degree of perception as well, is discussed here. Like I said, I feel, I don't know that I feel quite so comfortable talking about these paintings, even though I painted them recently, and then, or relatively recently. Then these are the closing sutras of book. And there's the last one about the Chitti Shakti. All right. I'll sit down. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Indeed, it was a very captivating, unique, and informative presentation. So now, our participants and audience, if you have any question, you may directly talk to our speaker. Is there anyone who has some questions, online as well as offline participants? The session is open for discussion. Yeah, please, Matthew, come here.
Melissa, if you could just kindly explain the last painting, what you're trying to depict and say with your painting.
Oh, again, I would say that I don't know that I can talk about what I was trying to depict there or why I felt that was. I painted that painting. That painting really was not so planned. It just came out, and I knew when I painted it that it was the right one for the last sutra, and I feel like I'm still learning what it is and why that is the last one. But it's the absorption of all of Prakriti back to its source on some level. I don't know. I don't yet have an answer for that.
It's very nice. I mean, you put all the colors there, that blue, green, yellow, red. You thought of it, or it happened automatically?
Yeah.
No, you thought of it and then you painted it, because all the colors are there.
Right.
That's in the rainbow, right? The same colors are there.
Yes. Yes. All the colors are there. I find it very satisfying to look at.
Because the reason is the cerebrospinal centers which are there, the 7 centers in the so-called spine, the same colors emanate from bottom to top in the same chronological order as the rainbow, the electromagnetic waves of the spectrum, and then the light passes through the prism. And this is wherein earlier when I was trying to explain interruption because we wanted to hear a lecture, and now the same colors are coming through. I'm sorry I'm sharing this, you are in a higher platform than me, but then this is the same way it happens and moves up.
Well, I'm grateful to you for explaining it to me. I'm very grateful.
Because you see what happens, the 7 chakras or the 7 cerebral spinal centers, the same colors, red, orange, yellow, the same way it moves up. And this is precisely what happens when you transform the ojas, the strongest form of energy, which is known as the sexual energy, which moves from the 3 lower chakras and moves up the spine, the Brahmanard, and moves up. You can add on. I'm so sorry, I'm talking something abstract, but I'm trying to connect with your painting.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming, and it's really inspiring to see the way you've engaged the text. Most of us here are engaging text in different ways, and the level to which you've entered in and experienced it and then brought that to us, it's really quite remarkable and inspiring. My question is more a practical one. I wondered, how big are these paintings, and what are the varied processes you go through in making them? Like how long?
Right.
One takes a week, one takes a month.
They take very different. So here, I'll show you more of the pictures. This gives you some idea of them. This is book 1 being displayed. Each of the paintings is 16 inches by 20 inches. They're all the same size. After I had the idea that I was going to work with the Yoga Sutras, I spent the next 3 months figuring out what that would mean, because I have a small studio, and there was no way I was going to be, even if I just worked with book 1, like what was I going to do with 51 paintings? Where was I going to put them? So they're all on unstretched canvas. They are, like I said, 16 by 20, and they hang like scrolls from dowels, oak dowels, top and bottom. And they're meant to be shown together. They do relate to each other. The paintings do, there are motifs that carry throughout the paintings. In book 1, I don't know if you noticed, but like this painting that shows, the one that shows up for Sutra 17, it's this one in the corner that introduces the process of moving from the, okay. No, they're not clear. I'd have to go back more, but I'm going to show you more paintings. Here's my studio right there. There I am in my studio. So you get some sense of what they look like relative to a person. But there are motifs that carry through the painting. So it's important that they be, that they be shown together. And when I show them, like the sutras themselves divide into groups that develop an idea. And each of those ideas is developed also artistically in each group. There are color relationships, there are, because again, you think of like, what is the language of art? The language is color, form, whatever shape. So that language is also being used here to talk about what's happening. And so again, when they're shown, I always make sure that certain ones are shown together. They take different lengths of time. Some of them happen very quickly, and some of them happen excruciatingly slowly. Yeah, there was a series of them in book 1 where the ones about abhyasa and vairagya, I like to say that they took me 2 years. During that period of time, I also painted a 108 Gayatri mantra painting. It's 8 foot long with 108 Gayatri mantras in gold leaf. But during that, so as we were, like I said, all the stories about my painting the Yoga Sutras, none of them make me look all that good. It's like, so the beginning to paint it, I have to learn to let go, and I have to learn that I'm not the one in charge. So then as I'm moving up towards the one about vairagya, non-attachment, I think, well, I'm a very attached person. Something else is definitely going to have to tell me what to do about that one, because I don't have a clue about vairagya. So then we get evicted from our home, and my son has a major anxiety attack, and I am diagnosed with cancer. So I was like, okay, I get it. Vairagya, I'm letting go. But that particular painting took like that group of paintings. So that was when I also did the Gayatri mantras, because I also needed a different kind of experience than just the Yoga Sutras. But I learned some of the paintings took a long time because there was a certain visual effect I was trying to get. Some took a long time because I would keep going back to them. And some changed surprisingly at different points in time too, but each one was different.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
It is rightly said in Bhagavad Gita that ahankar vimud atma karta ham iti manyate. So only the egoistic souls think that they are in charge.
Right. Right.
So you are repeating it again and again that somebody or some entity is sending you the glimpse or ideas how to paint, what to paint.
Right.
And this is a wonderful thing that you are not thinking yourself as a doer, but someone else is doing.
Right.
No,
And if I was thinking of myself as the doer, I was quickly disabused of that notion.
yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. And one of our colleagues, Dr. Rajiv Balochan Behera, wants to ask something.
Hello, is somebody talking?
At first, many thanks to ma'am for your mind-blowing presentation. What I understood here, you presented certain images through your, which represent the imagination and the life of imagination, and you bridge a certain way. But I hope I have some query. Therefore, I intended to ask something. What is the philosophical significance of the bridge to make here imagination to the life of imagination? That is something you can say searching reality through abstract entities. And it is claimed like this that the invisible character of abstract entity is visualized through certain forms here. Here is the magic of yoga I can represent, I can claim. And or if you say, if you deny, is it something called instrumentality of yoga or not? If I can grant the first one is right, what I said, it's a magic of yoga, then that is facing the problem of indescribability of then. But if you claim the second one is something can say instrumentality of yoga, then that is something also facing, that is something very much limited to human capacity, but it's not something signifying completely what philosophy need through yoga. Thank you.
So I would agree that there are necessary, that there, if I understand you correctly, that there are limitations to this as to anything, and that the limitations, this is the Yoga Sutras expressing itself through me, through the vehicle of me and to me. Also, one thing that I did also learn is that it's not ever so simple. There's this process of letting go, but there's also a process of participating, of being the instrument. The minute I would think that all I had to do was just let go and let something come through me, then there would be nothing. Then it would be like, I am also a participant, is what I was saying. And I am meant to be a participant because I am, because I exist, and because this was about a relationship between me and the text, and not just the text, but something beyond the text that is teaching me. The limitations are always going to be there for each of us in whatever. I'm not saying everyone needs to do it this way. For each person, there's a different way of finding that engagement with the text.
Should I ask the another questions? You said that in your answer, you are existing for, if you are existing for whom? For yoga.
Oh.
For the lens of yoga, you are existing for whom?
So I think that, again, there are so many pitfalls. There are so many places I can step in something messy here. Like I can't, are you asking me what I believe? Who am I existing for? Because there are so many answers to that. And there's no answer that I can give that someone can't argue with. But I believe that all of us are existing for the love of existing. That's what I believe. I believe that existence is, we were talking about this with Dr. Dukowski yesterday, that that it's all a dance, that it's all it's all one thing of great beauty, and that existence is, it's, you know, I would say where this meets with the Yoga Sutras is it's so that it can know itself.
Again, I face a problem that you claim that the existence of you is the existence of the world.
That's right.
It's not necessarily, I think, through yoga, it's not necessary case.
Yes.
So
But
I'm
they-
also, I don't have also certain answer, but I am expecting from you. Anyway, thank
But-
you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Online participants should also ask some questions.
Okay, can you hear me? Hang on. Okay, can you hear me?
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's really very,
Yes.
I mean, we are honored to have you, and it's very graceful presence of you. And first and foremost thing, you said one thing that actually stirred me to some extent. You said that you're not doing yoga philosophy. Yoga happened to you. I mean, it revealed itself to you. That's very amazing. I mean, this is a metaphysical discourse I would appreciate to some extent. And in fact, there is a similarity. I mean, the way you are synchronizing paintings with Yoga Sutra, that reminds me Joseph Campbell, a book he has written, very wonderful work. I mean, Thousand is Faces of Man. In that book, he tries to embodies the painting. I mean, he has completely manifested the human psyche in painting. And the similar task has been done, I think, by Carl Gustav Jung, another Austrian psychiatrist. He says that human psyche represents itself in painting in very subtle manner. People must find out what kind of elements human psyche possesses. And here I find little perplexed because I don't understand. Still, I'm trying to figure out what is the sole purpose of synchronizing the abstract painting through the Yoga Sutra. And another dimension I'm trying to understand, and what kind of relationship between yoga, I mean, the spiritual practices, enterprises you are doing, and the artistry itself. Because art and spirituality both have very inseparable connection to each other, and both have tremendous opportunity to transcend human beings from their baser, I mean,
Yes.
instinctual nodes,
Right.
and could be transcended and could be, I mean, synchronized in one. That's Advaita philosophy, I guess. And you have expressed your, I mean, some sort of reprehensible outlines towards Sankhya philosophy because of its dual nature. So, in that sense, what would be your, I mean, philosophical juxtaposition in the expression of synchronizing painting with Yoga Sutra?
So
And-
that's a very good question. I also,
Thank you.
I would say here too, I always run the risk of stepping into traps that those who are engaged in aesthetics would, you know, argue with. But I think that the one important issue is attention. That painting or any art requires attention. That you can't, and it requires attention to what is and not what you think about. So first of all, it's an engagement. I think art is very interesting, or painting is interesting in that any art is an engagement of the senses and a means of communication at arguably a high level. Because, and that as human beings, we like to communicate. We want to say, like, look, I'm here. This is what I see. This is what I, and art is a way of doing that, a way of communicating at, you know, sort of like a metaphysical level too. I think on any level, art, because you're engaging with color, you're engaging with feelings. If you set out to paint a tree, and you think, okay, I'm going to paint a tree. It has branches and it has leaves. Like, you will do a very, very bad tree. What you have to pay attention, you have to like look, you have to actually like see what is there and pay attention. And the same thing is true if you're doing something abstract, because then you're paying attention to images or thoughts or feelings that arise within. Or if you're doing a pattern, like the Islamic art, that requires tremendous attention. So all of these ways of paying attention are also ways of like going around the thinking mind. And because that's also some of what we want to do when we engage with spiritual practice. These are reasons why art or painting or that, these are reasons why it's not the only vehicle, but it's a very good one.
And another thing is, I mean, there is a befogging, I mean, instrumentality of yoga, and particularly the other way of doing philosophy is that problem of communication, as you have mentioned that, because there is a film I remember, The Waking Life. I guess you might have watched it. Richard, I mean, directed by Richard Linklater. I mean, it's an anime film. In that film, a character says that if I say I love you, but that phrase would not be understood or comprehended to other person unless he or she understand the same level of frequency or same level of energy. And this is a problem of communication. I mean, that has been very much traced in the human history, I mean, throughout the artistic evolution. In aesthetic experience too, because aesthetic is subjective experience. So by taking the recourse, I would say that art happens to someone when he or she start listening the inner voice, I mean, inner calls, because someone, practically speaking, someone cannot be an artist unless he or she understand his or her inner voice.
Let me just say one other thing too about it that has to do with the idea of beauty. And this is where I would really like at people who are in aesthetics are, I mean, they're probably going to come running after me now. But again, that notion of attention, like if you pay attention, like you cannot help but see things as beautiful. And that also is, I think, an important aspect of engaging with art as a means of.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Look,
Madam Pratibha Graman,
Oh,
you have
okay,
raised your
thank you.
hand. I think you have some questions. Please go on.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
Okay. So first, it's such a magnanimous project she is engaged upon to do this. It's just unbelievable. So the I think that the dimensions are really can be a very enhancing thing to take some of the sutras and along with the images she's painted, and you can really make them a fantastic tool to explain the sutras, the concept that it's making, and show how it's in that painting. I mean, I think that would be wonderful. I don't know what her plans are for it, but I would be even interested maybe to work with her on that. Myself, I am working on a book to show how this Yoga Sutras are a psychology, not in any artistic way, but I'm using some concepts that are in Sankhya for sure to show how it could be used as a psychology, and in that way, a psychology that's more useful for the modern time. So actually, I'm in the same area, live in the same area as she does. So maybe we will even touch base on that. Thank you.
That would be great.
Is there any other question or comment? Okay, if not, I want to ask a question.
You had a question.
Yeah, please come. I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Come, please. No, you first.
I would, before the question, I would say I have shown, I'm hoping, one thing that I'm hoping to do is to show all 4 books together. Dr. Christopher Chappell and I have been talking about doing that at LMU, but I would like to find some venue to have all 4 books on display, all 196 paintings. That's one thing that I would like to do with this. And the other thing is that I've started working on another text as well. Go ahead.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank you, madam, for the clarity of expression on the behalf of every one of us. It was so much of clarity that anything I think is not cannot be missed out. First thing first.
Thank you.
So all human beings have an internal constitution. So we are so well and otherwisely constituted in our internal world, subtle world. So does the visual meditation employable, I mean applicable uh, to everyone, because there is non-visual also.
Right.
So how do you differ visual meditation and non-visual meditation, and why you would favor visual meditation, and what's its utility, if you could?
Oh, so I don't necessarily favor visual meditation. I in my own practice, I mean, these are a visual meditation, but I meditate in the non-visual way as part of my regular practice. One of the advantages of art is that it serves in this way, it serves both as a gateway that opens both ways. There's the gateway for myself to experience it, but then art is like a trail of breadcrumbs. There's something left that others can also, it can serve as like, not so much, it's more like a catalyst to your own meditation. If you are looking at an image, a meditation, a visual image as a meditation object. So first of all, the dhyana can be an external image. So an external image focused upon can be a gateway to meditation. It's not necessarily a better one. But the idea too, when I published the books, it was more, I was thinking in terms of many people in the United States don't really understand the Yoga Sutras. They think that it's just the yamas and niyamas. They know a handful of sutras from it. They don't understand the depth and breadth and beauty of the philosophy that the Yoga Sutras is teaching. And then if they try to read it, you know, it's in a foreign language and it's really confusing. And then there's all this text that they don't really understand. So the idea was, when I published the books, like, I want people to have an entryway. This is to give them an entryway. So the books themselves, they look like this, and each page is like, you know, I keep the text very, very brief because I'm trying to make it clear and succinct, and I don't go into the word by word for the Sanskrit because the idea is to make it accessible.
So
Hello.
according to you, just one second. According to you, so the visual meditation and the non-visual path, which is always available, is not differentiable in the intensity. I'm trying to say in the
Not
sense of intensity.
Yeah, I think not necessarily. Yeah,
So I got my answer. Thank you.
okay.
Hello.
Thank you. And yes, sir, please go on.
Am I audible?
Firstly, introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, I'm HK Lal. I'm in Jabalpur right now. Thank you, Melissa, for painting such beautiful paintings on Yoga Sutra, book 1, 2, 3. I have two observations which I want to share with you. That one painting was there, which you showed that there was a hexagon and there was a triangle, and the background was of the brown color. And you said that the triangle is not this one, but there was someone else, some other painting was there. It was a hexagon and there was a triangle also into it. And to my understanding, what you say that the colors are the true language of paintings. I say that geometry is the ornament of the painting, and the triangle which you have shown there is interestingly, yes, this one exactly. Yeah, yes, interestingly, is one of the I mean, kind of geometrical shape which can fill the space without leaving any space into it. And there are only three kind of shapes like triangle, square, and hexagon that can actually fill the space without leaving any space, or it can packed. I mean, in a very certain way. So it's very interesting. The only thing which was I was thinking that there is any scope of having kind of uh, square also here that complete that all the triangles here.
Right. Yeah, are you talking about the other?
Secondly,
Talking about like
yeah,
this
you
right
said you also said that there was a painting in the red color with the triangle and having the 5 number of Fibonacci sequence was painted over there. Interestingly, the Yoga Sutra was written or came into existence in a book form 200 BCE, and there was one gentleman called Pingala, and the person who was the first who described the Fibonacci square 200 BC in the same time when the Yoga Sutra was written. So the Fibonacci spiral which you mentioned is actually the Pingala spiral, That was the same time it was written when the Yoga Sutra came into form of the book. And the question which I want to ask you, you have painted 51 paintings for the book one, isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and there might be some other ideas also which you have not painted yet for the same books, for the same 51 paintings. So what will be your second idea if you are given a chance to paint the same book one in this and
Oh, that
in the
is
next
an
time?
excellent and
So
excellent.
what it would be different from this present idea?
I often wonder that myself because I painted book one, I started 11 years ago. Like, what would it be like to revisit, to go back to book one? And I don't know the answer. I did make a meditation deck from the paintings of book one. I didn't repaint the paintings, but I got a chance because when I started writing the book, my abilities as a translator, I mean, I mostly did the translations myself because somebody had to, not because, but then in doing the meditation deck, I got to revisit that, which I was very happy for. I have to say that it's true that I would probably do things differently if I was to revisit and repaint. But I do, even when I look back over if I look back over the text that I wrote about different paintings, I might have problems with the text or the translation, but I do still find something in all of the paintings. There's something of truth that teaches me each time. So I don't know. I mean, I didn't actually intend to, I sort of ended up starting working with the Shiva Sūtras, an entirely different text. I don't know what would happen if I went back and with and redid the paintings for book one. Yeah, I don't have the answer.
Okay, so I appreciate your work and hope that one of the wall of my drawing room is strong enough to hold one of your painting. Really appreciate and thankful to you. Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other question from the audience, online or offline? No? Okay, then may I ask a question, ma'am? It's a very small question related to one particular painting painted by you. Just let me reach there. You have painted a hand for explaining yama, 5 kinds of yama. Yeah, this one.
Right.
And I want you to throw some light on this particular painting, that how and why you have painted this hand so gently, because this is not something like this.
Right.
It's not a heart of 5 fingers
Right.
saying or explaining something not to do it,
Right.
but just a gentle one explaining that these are the 5 yamas, and what exactly the idea behind painting this particular one. So please explain to everyone here.
Okay. Well, again, part of the reason why I had not liked the Yoga Sutras before has to do with the emphasis on the yamas and niyamas in talking about the Yoga Sutras in the United States. And so it was very important to think about how to approach them. The yamas being from yam to restrict, it seemed like that motion was an important motion. The yamas are also something that you do or that you don't do, but it involves action. It's the most basic level of action. So it felt important to show some aspect of the human body, which is why, the hand saying, don't do this. And then as I said, and as you said too, it's pointless if it's too harsh. And for one thing, it's missing the whole point of the first yama, ahimsa, non-harming, if you're going to be violent about it. So that's why I showed a hand gently saying, stop, don't do this. These are the things that you stop yourself from. And you don't have to it doesn't have to be, it cannot be a violent action. It's just a gentle stop.
Thank you so very much, ma'am,
You're welcome.
for explaining this particular painting. And this is so beautiful. So I think there is no other question. And we would all agree that it was a different and very captivating presentation. in philosophy, as well as for all the audience from artistic background. So thank you so much for that. And now, due to some reasons, our chairperson is not present with us, so presidential remarks would not be possible. But still, for a formal vote of thanks, I would like to invite Dr. Kalpana Yadav ma'am for a formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Niti, for giving me this opportunity on the behalf of the department. So first, I would like to express my deep thanks to speaker of the study circle program, uh, uh, Melissa ma'am. Okay, lucid interpretation has been presented by you, ma'am. It's very impressive. And next, I would like to thank Head of the Department, Professor Anand Mishra, sir. And next, I would like to thank President of this study program. Due to some urgent work, he had to leave the program, but he came here, and I would like to thank. Next, I would like to thank professors from our department and other universities. From our department, I would like to name some of professors here. Uh, Professor R.K. Jha, sir, Dr. Rahul, Professor S.P. Pandey, sir, Professor M.R. Mehta, sir, Grace ma'am, and from other universities, I would like to name some of professors. Professor Rakesh Chandra, sir, Pratibha Graman ma'am, Professor G.P. Das, sir, Asha Madgil ma'am, and next, I would like to express my thanks to dear students and research scholars for their active participation. Congratulations, Niti. You have. I would like to thank ICPR again. And next, I would like to thank convener of this study circle program. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much to you, ma'am. And now, with the permission of our head, sir, I announce the end of the program here. Thanks, one and all.
Thank you. Thank you. It was great.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for arranging such a wonderful seminar. Congratulations.
These are the paintings.
Do you teach the Yoga Sutras at the university there?
To whom is the question directed?
I suppose to the professor who was